let's dive into a story that's way more than just a sweet Christmas tale.
Yeah.
The journey of the Magi to see the newborn Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I know we always see those classic nativity scenes.
Right.
But I think there's so much more to uncover here.
For sure.
You shared some really fascinating sources with me.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to get into it.
Well, it's a story that really captures the imagination.
Absolutely.
You know, it's got a blend of history and religious tradition.
Right.
Even a bit of international intrigue.
Yeah, definitely some drama there.
Yeah.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
let's start with figuring out who these mysterious Magi actually were.
Okay.
They weren't kings, right?
Right. That's a common misconception.
Okay.
The Bible never actually uses that title.
Interesting.
They were part of a priestly tribe
Oh, wow.
from the Medo-Persian Empire,
Okay.
rivals to Rome.
So think ancient Persia
Yes.
or modern-day Iran.
Exactly.
These weren't just random stargazers.
No, not at all.
They held some serious power.
Absolutely.
It's amazing to think they were coming from a completely different culture and empire
Yeah.
to meet Jesus.
Yeah.
What was their role in their own society?
Well, they were advisors to kings,
Mm-hmm.
interpreters of dreams,
Right.
and they even had the power to crown kings.
Really?
Imagine their arrival in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
I mean, can you picture how that would have rattled Herod?
Oh, yeah.
A puppet king installed by Rome?
That must have been quite a moment.
It's no wonder he was terrified.
That's a great point.
It wasn't just a religious pilgrimage for the Magi.
Right.
It had huge political implications, too.
Yeah, like a new king of the Jews.
Exactly.
That could mean war with Rome.
Right.
This is already shaping up to be way more complex than I initially thought.
It gets even more interesting when you consider their religious practices.
Okay, so tell me about that.
They had an eclectic blend of beliefs.
Such as?
Well, astronomy,
Okay.
astrology,
Ah.
fire worship,
Wow.
animal sacrifices. You name it, they probably had a hand in it.
They really ran the gamut.
But what's really fascinating is how they were influenced by Jewish prophecies.
Oh, yeah.
Their interaction with figures like Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
who rose to prominence in their ranks,
Okay.
likely played a big role in that.
That's incredible to think about.
It is, isn't it?
This one guy, Daniel, taken captive to Babylon,
Right?
rises to become chief of the Magi
Mm-hmm.
and could have ultimately led them to Jesus.
It's remarkable.
I mean, it really speaks to the interconnectedness of history
Yeah,
and how God can use even the most unexpected events
right.
to bring about his plans.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, so we've got these powerful Magi from a rival empire guided by a star
Mm-hmm.
to find the newborn king of the Jews.
Right.
What was the significance of that star?
Well, that's a great question.
Was it just some random celestial object, or was there something more to it?
Many scholars believe it was more than just a random star.
Okay.
It could have been the Shekinah glory of God.
Oh, wow.
The same divine presence
Look,
that
Jen.
guided the Israelites in the Old Testament.
So like a visible manifestation of God's presence,
Exactly.
leading them on this incredible journey.
It's quite a thought.
Hold on, so we're talking about a pillar of fire or cloud?
Yeah,
Like the one that led the Israelites out of Egypt?
that's right.
That's an amazing connection.
It is.
It completely shifts how I see this story.
Yeah.
It's not just about following a star.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being led by God's presence.
That's the key.
This is mind-blowing.
Right.
Okay, and this divine guidance leads them to Bethlehem,
Yeah,
where they find Jesus.
they do.
Think about the contrast. Herod is gripped by fear,
Right.
while the Magi are filled with joy and worship.
Exactly.
Their response to finding Jesus wasn't about political power.
No.
It was a deeply religious experience.
Yeah.
They were on a quest for truth
Mm-hmm.
and found it in the most unexpected place.
A humble stable.
That's a great point.
It is
They weren't there to make a political statement.
not at all.
They were seeking something deeper,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
spiritual.
Right.
They were responding to a prophecy, a calling.
Yeah.
But if the Magi were drawn to Jesus because of Jewish prophecies,
Okay.
why weren't the Jewish religious leaders lining up to meet him?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question.
You'd think they'd be the first ones at the manger.
Right.
Instead, it's these dignitaries from a rival empire
Mm-hmm.
who recognize Jesus as the true king.
Exactly.
So how do we make sense of that?
Well, John Macarthur points out this stark contrast.
Okay.
You have these pagan priests,
Yeah.
guided by prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
and a supernatural star,
Uh-huh.
traveling for months to worship Jesus.
Okay.
And then you have the religious elite in Jerusalem,
Right.
who should know the scriptures inside and out.
Right.
They seem almost indifferent to his birth.
That is pretty ironic.
It is, isn't it?
You'd think they'd be the first ones there.
Yeah.
But instead, it's these dignitaries from a rival empire
Right.
who recognize Jesus as the true king.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway there?
Well, Macarthur suggests it presents two fundamental ways to respond to Christ.
Okay.
You can either reject him, like the Jewish leaders,
Right.
or embrace him with joy and acceptance,
Yeah.
like the Magi.
Okay.
And that choice, he argues, has profound implications.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
It is.
Knowing about Jesus
Yeah.
clearly isn't enough.
Right.
It's about what we do with that knowledge,
Yeah.
how it transforms our hearts and actions.
That's it.
But there's one more detail about the Magi that completely blew my mind.
Okay. What's that?
The fact that they weren't even Jewish.
You're right.
Amazing.
They were Gentiles.
Right.
And their presence represents the first fruits of God's plan to
Okay.
include all nations in his kingdom.
So it's a foreshadowing of the global impact Jesus would eventually have.
Right.
It's like a sneak peek into God's bigger plan of redemption. So this story is about so much more
Yeah,
than we typically see in those Christmas cards.
sure.
It's about prophecy, political intrigue,
Yeah.
and the clash of empires.
Right.
All converging around the birth of Jesus.
It's an amazing story.
It highlights the unexpected ways God can work through people from diverse backgrounds to fulfill his purposes.
Absolutely.
This is way more complicated
Yes.
and way more interesting than I ever imagined.
And we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
There's so much more to uncover
And so much more.
about the deeper meaning of their gifts,
Right.
the political turmoil surrounding Jesus' birth,
Yeah.
and how it all fits into God's grand plan.
I can't wait to get into it.
Let's do it.
All right. You know, I keep thinking about those Magi arriving in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
What a scene that must have been.
Right.
Picture this massive entourage,
Okay.
potentially armed,
Wow.
thousands of people
Oh my God.
marching right into Jerusalem and basically declaring the true king's arrival
Under Herod's nose.
right under his nose.
Talk about a power move.
Talk about making an entrance.
Especially considering Herod was a Roman-appointed king.
Yeah, he was a puppet king.
No wonder he felt threatened.
He was terrified.
So what did he do when they showed up?
He panicked,
Oh,
went into full panic mode,
What did that look like?
summoned every religious expert he could find,
Oh, wow.
trying to figure out where this prophesied Messiah was supposed to be born.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
No.
He was supposed to be king of the Jews, right?
Yet he had no clue about this central figure in their beliefs.
Yeah, it sounds like he was more concerned with protecting his own political power
Oh, absolutely.
than genuine religious curiosity.
He was all about politics.
So the experts, what did they tell him?
They pointed him to Micah 5.2,
Okay.
which predicted the Messiah's birth in Bethlehem.
And this is a prophecy he should have known.
You'd think so, right?
So what did he do with that information?
Well, he holds this secret meeting with the Magi,
Okay.
feigning piety,
Oh, God.
telling them he wanted to worship the newborn king too.
Wow.
Asked them to go to Bethlehem, find the child, and report back so he could pay his respects.
What a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Talk about a fake out.
His true intentions were far from worshipful.
Yeah,
I mean, he was planning to eliminate any potential rival,
that's right.
even if it meant murdering an infant.
It's chilling,
It's a reminder of the danger Jesus faced right from the beginning.
for sure.
But let's get back to the Magi.
Okay,
They set off for Bethlehem,
right.
guided by that mysterious star.
Yes.
So what happened next?
Well, the star led them directly to the house where Jesus was.
I can't even imagine the awe they must have felt
Oh, yeah.
arriving and seeing that.
Yeah.
And they entered the house.
And they see this baby,
Okay.
these powerful, wealthy dignitaries, adorned in their finest robes,
Right.
prostrating themselves before a humble baby.
It just completely dismantles any preconceived notions we might have
Yeah,
about worldly power and
Yep.
status.
it really does.
It's such a powerful image.
It is, isn't it?
It really challenges us to think about what true kingship looks like.
Exactly. It highlights the need for a complete shift in perspective
Yeah.
when recognizing Jesus as king.
Okay, so what happened after they found Jesus?
They presented him with gifts fit for a king.
And these weren't just random presents, right?
No, not at all.
Each gift had a deeper symbolic meaning.
They did, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Well, first there was gold,
Okay, gold,
Relationship.
recognizing Jesus as the true king.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
Frankincense,
Frankincense, okay.
which was a precious incense used in religious ceremonies.
So representing his divinity.
Yeah, and his role as high priest,
Okay.
interceding for us before God.
And then myrrh.
Yes, myrrh.
That one I always found a bit more somber.
It is, yeah.
It was used in embalming practices. So foreshadowing Jesus' sacrificial death
Exactly.
and his role as the suffering servant
Yeah.
who would take on the sins of the world.
It's amazing how these gifts given at his birth
Right.
already hint at the full arc of his life and purpose.
It's like a beautifully woven tapestry of symbolism,
It is.
each thread contributing to a greater picture. But didn't this story take another turn after that?
Yeah.
Weren't the Magi warned in a dream not to go back to Herod?
That's right.
God intervened, protecting his son,
Yeah, he did.
and the Magi, realizing Herod's treachery,
Right.
they disobeyed him
They did.
and
right.
returned to their own country by a different route.
That's right.
It's fascinating how God uses even seemingly small details,
Yeah.
like a dream,
Yeah.
to direct the course of events
Mm-hmm.
and ensure his plan unfolds.
Yeah, he's always in control.
But what about Herod?
Oh, he was not happy.
How did he react when the Magi didn't return?
He flew into a rage.
Oh, wow.
A murderous rage when he realized he'd been outsmarted.
What did he do?
He ordered the massacre of all male infants in Bethlehem,
Oh, gosh.
2 years old and younger.
Wow.
It's a horrifying display of cruelty.
It really is.
This event's known as the Massacre of the Innocents.
Right.
It's a stark reminder of the darkness
Yeah.
that can exist even amidst the celebration of Jesus' birth.
It's heartbreaking to think about the loss and suffering
It is.
caused by Herod's desperate attempt to cling to power.
Yeah,
But amidst this tragedy, we see God's hand at work,
absolutely.
don't we?
Yeah.
Jesus and his family safely escaped to Egypt,
Right.
hidden from Herod's wrath.
God was protecting them.
It's a powerful reminder that even when evil seems to have the upper hand,
Yeah.
God is still in control.
He is.
He's orchestrating events,
Right.
even those that seem devastating,
Mhm.
to ultimately fulfill his purpose.
That's right.
God's plan is bigger than any one person or event.
For sure.
Okay, so up to this point,
Okay.
we've followed the Magi to Bethlehem,
Right.
witnessed their adoration of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and even explored the deep symbolism embedded in their gifts.
Yeah.
We've also touched upon the political chaos surrounding Jesus' birth
Yeah.
and Herod's relentless pursuit of power.
Yeah.
What else should we consider about this story to fully grasp its significance?
That's a great question. It's easy to get caught up in all the historical and political drama,
Right.
but I think the real heart of this story lies in its deeper theological significance.
Okay.
The Magi weren't just on a quest to find a physical location.
Right.
They were searching for truth,
Yeah.
for the one true God.
I think that's something we can all relate to in some way.
Yeah,
That deep human longing for meaning, for something bigger than ourselves.
absolutely.
Like a universal search for answers.
Yeah.
And their journey reminds us that God is actively drawing all people to himself,
Yeah.
regardless of their background or beliefs.
Exactly. It's not limited to a select few.
It really emphasizes that,
Mm-hmm.
that God's love and plan of salvation is for everyone. And that's what makes the contrast with the Jewish religious leaders so striking.
It really is.
They had the scriptures,
Right.
the prophecies,
Yeah.
the knowledge,
Had it all.
yet they missed the Messiah standing right in front of them.
It's incredible.
It's a powerful cautionary tale, would you say?
Oh, absolutely.
It shows that simply having religious knowledge isn't enough.
Right.
We need open hearts,
Yeah.
receptive to God's truth,
Mm-hmm.
and a willingness to let go of our preconceived notions,
To follow him.
to follow him, yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
These pagan priests from a foreign land,
Right.
they were more receptive to God's truth
Yeah.
than the very people who had been studying it their entire lives.
It's a humbling reminder
It is.
that God often works in the most unexpected ways,
Yeah.
through the most unexpected people.
It's true.
And this whole story flips the script
Yeah.
on how we usually think about power and kingship.
I completely agree.
To see these powerful worldly magi
Right.
bowing before a humble baby.
In a simple house.
Yeah,
It's a striking image
it really is.
of the upside-down nature of God's kingdom.
It's a kingdom where true greatness is found in humility and service,
Yeah.
where love conquers hate.
Absolutely.
And it's a kingdom open to all
Mm.
who are willing to acknowledge Jesus as the true king.
That's the key.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Magi's visit,
Okay.
what's the one key takeaway that you hope our listener will remember?
Well, if these powerful worldly magi could be so radically transformed by encountering Jesus, how much more should we, who have the fullness of his revelation in Scripture, be impacted by him?
It's a powerful challenge.
It is.
To set aside our pride, assumptions, and fears.
Right.
To embrace the truly life-changing truth of the gospel.
The Magi's story is a beautiful reminder that seeking Jesus is a journey worth taking.
Yeah.
A journey that leads to true joy, lasting peace, and a life filled with purpose.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating story of the Magi and the birth of Jesus.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of wonder
Right.
as we've explored the history,
Right.
the political intrigue, and most importantly, the deeper spiritual meaning behind their journey.
Absolutely.